Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. I know this is a little unusual. Typically we only do one special selection per day, but today we're going to do two. The comment is the same as the one we just did. Chuck Scholl Guy has given us another track from Anomia. They are a 2009-ish Massachusetts deathcore band, though they're also rather progressive. If you'd like, you can check out my reaction to The Color Wheel, which we just checked out today, or now, whatever. We're going to look at another track off of the same album, this one called Lancasted Breath. Let's dive into this and see what Anomia is bringing to the table this time. The subversion from the emo lick to this, to the breakdown. Yeah, so shifting from the downbeats to somewhere between beats for the accent points there. The drums got to play around a little bit with that with the cymbals. Holy dissonance, Batman. Bit more of a death metal riffage here, getting away from that hardcore chugging that we've seen. Some fun rhythmic stuff on the snare. A little bit of an accelerando there. Some fun little melodic drumming. Yeah, the drumming here is really nice. A little bit of contrast in the cymbal work. interesting atmosphere. These notes on top of the chords underneath, that was an interesting decision. Very high intention. All right. You know, what's interesting is, in a lot of ways, it's not too different than Color Wheel. It's definitely, they're showing me, at least in these two songs, kind of who they are, where their home base is. It's possible that the rest of the album is drastically different than these two, but what I've seen in these two tracks is a band that is quite happy to jump around between a ton of ideas, put a bunch of stuff into a song that really doesn't fit together, and just force it to to be played in that order, showcasing a variety of skills across the board, and creating something very, at least to me, chaotic through that. But I do think that this track does some stuff a bit different. Whereas Color Wheel, I think, was a bit more focused. It was still textural, but it was a bit more focused on just low-end riffage, choosing 3 or 4 notes and creating a chugging riff out of that, and occasionally giving me a little touch of melody. This, well, this one also teases me with melody, but it doesn't hit the same way with, I think, what is the meat of the guitar work here. It's still texture-based, but it feels a bit more focused on rhythm over anything else. This entire song, or I should say at least the first 60% of it, is very focused on breakdowns. And I think this is interesting because it's not just the breakdown. There's like 3 different breakdown riffs that we have in the first half of the song, but they're always juxtaposed with something else. We don't just do 40 seconds of a breakdown. We'll do 10 seconds of a breakdown and 5 seconds of this other totally unrelated thing back to that breakdown for a little bit, into this totally unrelated thing. And so it takes this concept of juxtaposing ideas and jagged music composition and really elevates it to new heights. It isn't just that we have this emo chord progression, acoustic guitar stuff at the beginning that turns into a breakdown, and then we're in the breakdown for a little bit before we do something else. It's that breakdown is also chopped up into a bunch of other ideas. This is absolutely bonkers channel surfing kind of stuff here. And like I said, I think it pushes it to a limit that we didn't even hear on the Color Wheel reaction. And so this song is longer, and I do think we get more ideas in it than Color Wheel, but I also find that some of these ideas aren't just played straight before we move on to something else. They like to intertwine them. We will have a jumping back and forth of 2 different concepts like we saw in that first section of the song. More so than just, this is what we're doing now, then we're going to move to this, then we're going to move to that. This feels like cycles, where this section is a bouncing between these 2 ideas. Or I guess less of a circle, and more of like, I don't know, what goes up in... For some reason I thought of like that carnival thing where you hit the thing and then goes up and hits the bell at the top and then it comes back down. It's not a good metaphor for this. But anyways, fluctuates back and forth between these 2 very incompatible ideas before moving on to something else, before moving on to another fluctuation of 2 highly incompatible ideas. And to me then, this song speaks a lot about contrast, maybe a division or a duality, a separation between 2 extremes is what this song says to me. It's in a very different way than Color Wheel, which was just a linear story. just, we move here, then we go here, then we go here. Then. This one's always feeling like a conversation, or I guess more like an argument, given the aggression of so much of this song. It's a shame that, much like Color Wheel, there's probably no lyrics for this anywhere. And so I won't be able to dig into that, because at least with this track, it's not just chaos. I can hear a thematic component to it. And this wild juxtaposition, it dominates so much of the song. And through that, like I said, I think we reach a heightened form of this disjointed writing that we saw on Color Wheel, but definitely lean into a bit more here, where there's just no way to know what's going to happen next. Whether it's a time signature change, I don't think we had any in here, but we do have wild phrasing upsets. We have tempo shifts. We have atmospheric changes from harmony to melody to textures to breakdowns to sick death metal riffs. This thing's all over the place. Also, heavy tension in here, dude. Like, there's this point in the middle of the track, just dissonance, pure you know what it is. You saw my face. You probably laughed at it. I don't like dissonance at all. Microtonal music's tough for me to get into. Noise rock and metal is tough for me to get into. Avant-garde stuff. You give me that, which is just the most dissonant combination of sounds, and I'm not going to have a good time. We didn't have any of that on the last track, so this was something fresh that they brought to this one. Is just, for lack of a better word, it's noise. And they find a way to work it into the atmosphere of the song in a way that I don't find generally pleasant, but I'm sure others might find to be a palatable experience. And like I said, it feels more antagonistic. The other song was about a wild journey, but this one feels aggressive. It feels of two minds, and it does so within the variety of sounds that are here. Not to repeat myself too much, but I do want to put praise on this as well. This song also showcases a lot of different styles of music from all the instruments, but in a different way, which is why I'm going to bring it up here rather than just say, oh, go watch the Color Wheel reaction. The vocals are generally similar throughout this. They're all harsh. There's a lot of different harsh styles in here. I don't think we had the pig squeals this time around, but we have growls, we have gutturals, we have low fries, we have high fries. It's a lot of vocal work. The bass got to showcase a little bit of themselves in here. I thought that was cool. They got a moment in the spotlight, just a quick little lick, but for the most part, the bass is rather straightforward, playing a more foundational role with the track. But we got to hear some cool stuff out of the guitars. A little bit of melody in there. Still, much like Color Wheel, I wish we'd get a little bit more melody. It's the same problem I had with Between the Buried and Me's opening album. Actually, both of their opening albums, Self-Title and Colors. I think that was both of them. You know what? There might have been one between that. That might have been 1 and 3. I don't know. Y'all can correct me on that. Y'all know a lot better than I do. But yeah, Self-Title and Colors, there were some cool things going on in there, but there just never is enough melody. There really isn't. And that's my same problem with this. There's some cool sections, some stuff I really like. The high level of dynamics and contrast in here is cool, but there's just no melody. We do get a couple of moments with the guitar. We do have that cool emo style chord phrasing, chord shaping. That's what it is. At the beginning, we got the sort of post-hardcore chord progression at the end of the song. Those were cool moments that we got to see a little bit more chordal work from the guitars that we hadn't really seen. Even on Color Wheel, a lot of it was chugging versus metal melody. We had that death metal guitar solo. We had the sweep picking at the beginning. But here we got to see a little bit more chordal work, building atmosphere, which is something that I didn't really get to see too much of on that first track. And so it's kind of nice to see a little bit more expansion in the guitar work. But you know who shines here? Those drums. Dude, so there are a few sections here where the drums are more straightforward, just really pulling in a rigid, traditional metal groove. And, that works. When you've got to put 12, 15, 20 drum patterns in a song because the band doesn't know how to sit on an idea for more than 5 seconds, not everything is going to be expressive or expansive or melodic or anything like that. Sometimes you're going to have to rely on the tropes. And they're tropes because they're good. If they weren't good, everybody wouldn't play them and they wouldn't become a trope. So it's definitely nice to have them in here from time to time just to create a sort of home base for the rhythmic element here. But dude, when the drummer needed to go off, they did. And this was something I asked for on Color Wheel, was more melodic drumming. I wanted to hear the drummer play something unique to them, something that felt like they were putting their own spin on the drum patterns for this genre, for deathcore. And we got that here. Right at the end, some really interesting snare work, playing around with syncopation and altered accents, where some of the snare hits were heavier than others in order to provide a pulse against the plethora of sounds coming out. Some drum kick work that was bass kick work that was working against the snare to create more syncopation. I don't remember there being tom work, but there was also some cymbal stuff going on, particularly on the ride cymbal, that created a really cool groove. And there was it was a rigid, I think it was eighth notes, but there was a cool syncopation of accents there, moving across from the edge of the cymbal all the way up to the bell and kind of getting a plethora of little timbral changes there. So it's a really nice nuanced approach to that. And the whole thing just really came together against the chugging groove that was going on underneath it. Very cool idea overall. And that's about my take on this. It's chaotic. It's heavily disjointed. It is not really my cup of tea, as I mentioned on Color Wheel. But, they're doing a lot of crazy things on this. And I do think it's a bit of a shame that they ended up, quitting or disbanding or whatever. Maybe, life gets in the way. You try to be a rock star for a little bit, it doesn't click, still got bills to pay. So, I don't know what led to the band ending, but I think they had a lot of promise based on these two tracks, and they could easily have gone down as one of the better bands in the progressive deathcore realm. Let me see if there's any lyrics. Like I said, I doubt it, but otherwise we're just going to wrap this up. Yeah, and as I suspected, nothing. Pretty much the only thing I can find for them is their Bandcamp page. There's a Last FM for them, but it's shared with a couple of other bands named Anomia. Same thing goes for Sonic Hits page. So, yeah, there's just nowhere to get lyrics for this. I kind of hope against hope, that somebody kept the lyrics written down in a journal or notebook or something, and that somehow 12 years later it's still findable. They've kept it in a nice place. It's not destroyed. And that somebody from the band sees these videos and is like, dude, do you still have lyrics? And he's like, yeah, dude, I still do. He's like, we need to put them on the Bandcamp. People want to know what the lyrics are. Or maybe just some guy on the internet wants to know what they are. And that guy would be me. I do want to know what the lyrics are. But yeah, that's going to wrap this one up. These are my thoughts. Anomia's Lancasted Breath. Let me know what you thought of this. If there's anything that stood out to you, anything that you would like to add on to what I said or correct me on, maybe just want to give me your own thoughts, opinions, and perspective on this track, put all that stuff down in the comments section. Much like the last one, you can go into the description box and find links to Linktree, which takes you to all of my stuff, but I'll also put the links for their stuff in there too if you want to go find more of their music. From what I can tell, they have an LP, an EP, and a single. That's it. A collection of 16 songs total. So you can go through their discography real quick. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.